Hi, and welcome to another edition of Danny Brown Talks Phoenix. Today I'm joined by Christina Goldsmith of CG Home Interiors. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got started in interior design, and why you wanted to be an interior designer?
Something I've always enjoyed. It was a hobby for a while that I just did for friends and family on the side. And I got sick of being in an office all the time, 9 to 5, not being with my kids, coming home frustrated, and that makes me be there for them even less. So mainly it was for my kids, just to be there, even though they are a little bit older, they're still at home, there's still time for that. So I kind of kicked it into high gear, put the buzz in my husband's ear that this is what I wanted to do, and I kind of pushed the timeline forward a little. I think I told him within the next year, and it happened within like 2 months. So once I get going on something, I'm on it. So I made it happen. I started reaching out to people, and being in the mortgage industry, it made it easy to reach out to real estate agents and kind of start there and start with home staging, and then just see where it goes. I had my first client from Instagram, and just kind of, I figured I'd see where that goes, and loved it. Everything went great. So it's just kind of been a learning process from there. So I'm completely self-taught on everything.
Wow.
And it's been great. So we're going on 3 years now, and business continues to grow. Thank you so much. It's been awesome. I mean, I am blessed every day. I'm thankful I get to do what I love.
So you got into this basically for the freedom, like most people who start their own businesses. They want the freedom to manage their schedule and manage their timelines and just be free of being tied to a 9 to 5. Have you always been attracted to design?
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, from the first place that we moved into, that I moved into with my husband, even before I moved out on our own, I've been with my husband since I was 15. So we lived with his mom for a little while, and we had our little area of the house, so I would decorate that. And his mom told me for years, you need to do interior design. I'm like, I don't know how I would do that. And I didn't have time for schooling at the time.
Sure.
I was raising a toddler. So we started young, and I've wanted to kind of be on my own for a while.
So I think people have kind of a general knowledge of what interior designers do, but I don't think that they have I think that their overall opinion of kind of what an interior designer does is not accurate. So can you go into a little bit of detail on the types of different services that you offer and, ranging from the scope of the types of projects?
I agree, and I think that HGTV is kind of like Pinterest for hairstylists. They hate it. So everybody has kind of a false perception now that there's so many home shows on TV. Everybody expects the process to say, I don't know my style, this is my budget, and they want to walk into a completely done house. And that's not the case. So setting the expectations up front of, first of all, the services that I do provide and what's realistic, I found to be helpful. So again, it's all been a learning process for me, and each client is different. But for the most part, it's helped me to broaden my services too and kind of tailor fit things to people. So I do everything from home staging to home staging consultations to interior design, decor, e-design, just mood boards. So if somebody, they kind of know how to put things together, but they just need to know what items to put in an area. Then we just do a board for them that by room of all the items, so they can kind of get a visual, because not everybody's a visionary.
Sure,
and that's what our job is to help people see that and pull it together for them.
So can we break down kind of each one of those things that you said? Christina is a part of what I like to say our extended Myriad family. We use Christina for all of our home staging, but that's not the typical staging that most people think of where you're staging a vacant home.
Right.
So can you kind of go into some detail on that, as well as what a mood board is and some of those different features that you offer?
Absolutely. So what I do for you and several other agents is going into homes that are getting ready to go on the market, right? So decluttering, depersonalizing, helping the homeowners to get things ready for the house to go on the market and to get the listing photos. It's usually a list that people can go through, whether it's cleaning up baseboards, painting The walls. If the walls are a crazy color, then we want to get those something more
Sure.
neutral that's appealing to the masses. Again, depersonalizing, that's a big thing, is taking down family photos, so that kind of thing. So yes, helping to get it ready to go on the market rather than coming in and bringing a bunch of furniture into a vacant house, which I do as well, but that's not the consultation part of it.
So what you're essentially doing is helping individuals who want to sell their home stage it using their existing furniture and kind of showing it in the best light.
Right, exactly.
And then you had mentioned a mood board. For me, what's a mood board?
So that's where, if you don't need help with the layout in a room, but you need help with items in the room. So whether you have a few existing pieces, like most people will have a sofa in their living room, but they want other things to pull it together and make it feel more like home and more cozy. So I'll source those items, whether it's lamps, decor, tables, whatever they need, rugs to go in there, and then I put it all together in a board that shows how these things come together. So you can see what the room's gonna look like, but it's not the layout of the room. So the e-design shows the layout of a room. So if somebody's struggling with that, it's basically the same thing. You get the mood board with it, but then you have the layout of where everything needs to go.
So then an e-board is essentially a drawing or a rendering of the room with the actual furniture or pieces that you're talking about getting and placed within that room.
Right.
Gives people kind of a better overall visual perspective on what the room's going to look like.
Yeah. And so even if the room is an odd size or an odd shape, then that's usually what people struggle with. Or if there's windows in weird places, they don't know where to put things. So yeah, that's when the e-design comes in. And that's nice that can be, most of my clients that do that are remote. Obviously, if you're local, I'm most likely going to go to your house. So that's more so for out-of-state clients, and same with mood boards as well.
Okay. So how do you decide when you're working with a client what's going to be best for them in terms of communication style? How do you work with them to kind of get to that point?
Most of my inquiries come through email anyway. So in my initial email back, I let them know that, or I ask them, what's going to work best for them. If they want to continue over email, if a phone call is better, text, anything like that. But then to kind of learn their style and get to know them a little bit more, Pinterest is great for that. That's my number one, because most people, especially if they're going to do a remodel or redesign something, they're pinning inspiration constantly. So they already have those boards started. So they just send a link to me and I'm able to kind of get an idea of the style that they like. And then I also have people send me, if it's a remote client, pictures of their house so I can get an idea of their existing furniture. If they're local, I go to their house. That's where we have the consultation, so we can walk through. I can see everything, I can field measure and do everything that I need to at the consultation.
Great. So it's got to be hard when you're working with individuals to not have your own sense of style influence, or have you found that clients want you to insert your sense of style because they follow you on the different social media platforms and kind of see what you do? How do you kind of navigate that?
So I think it's a little bit of both. People hire me for a reason. They go to my website and see my portfolio, or they go on Instagram, and so they are drawn to my style. But my style is not necessarily everybody else's style either. So I think because I like so many different styles, it's easy for me not to impose what I like on people. And that's another reason that I do so much research with their Pinterest boards and their current belongings. And then talking to them. So I have a series of questions that I ask every person to answer before a consultation. So I'm able to review that before I get to the consultation to get an idea of what they expect of the process, what they think their style is. Most people don't know, or they'll say it's one thing and it's completely different. So it's my job to learn that, and I'm able to do that visually when I'm in their setting.
I feel like when people want to do a remodel, they're kind of overwhelmed because there's so many different options and choices out there. Do you work with specific contractors? Do you manage the contractors? Like, how does that work out where once you've got everything figured out, are you giving that information to contractors? How does that work?
So again, it depends on the client. Everybody is different. So some clients, and actually most clients, have a contractor lined up before they come to me.
Okay.
I'll work with their contractor. And so my job as a designer is also sort of a project manager, because I need to make sure that everybody's on the same page with design and we're getting what we need to the contractors so that they can put the proper things in the house. So I lost my train of thought.
Most contractors are not interior designers, and I think
Correct.
people, I know when I'm working with individuals and they ask me if I have a contractor I can refer to them, I absolutely do.
Yeah.
But they're looking for more from their contractor in terms of, they have a general idea of what they want to do, but they don't know how it's going to look, or the colors, or the materials, or anything like that.
Right.
So it's nice that you're able to work with their contractors and kind of take on that project management role.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I do have a contractor that I work with. It's taken a while to get one that I'm comfortable referring out.
It is hard to find good contractors.
But I have found one that I love and every client's been wowed by. And they've actually come in and saved a couple projects of people who hired contractors and fired their contractors.
Which happens a lot.
So they've been wonderful, and it's full service, so that everybody's actually underneath them. They're not going to different companies for stuff. So they have tile guys, they have paint, like it's all underneath
it's all
the
in-house.
same.
That makes
they
it
have
a lot
little
easier.
showroom. Yeah, so it makes it so much better throughout the whole process. But yes, that's who I refer out religiously.
Now, do you have certain types of clients that you look for that are the best fit for you?
I think more budget-friendly, middle class, yes. It's just something I'm comfortable with. And, I'm a budget shopper. So going back to what you said about style, like pushing style off to people, not really, but I'm also very budget conscious. And so I do ask people, if there's certain brands they don't like, to get an idea of where they like to shop, and kind of that gives me helps me with price point too, what people are willing to spend on things. But I am a bargain shopper. That's just my nature.
Yeah.
So,
That's good.
if somebody wants super high-end stuff, I'm willing to do it, but I still have a hard time, even though it's not my money, I'm still spending their money.
Sure.
So I would say more middle class budget.
So when you're helping someone with the design, do you start with basically what their ideal design looks like, their ideal room or their home looks like, and then kind of work down to fit their budget? How do you establish those budgets?
Right. So I ask them their budget to get an idea of, even what they're thinking and if it's realistic or not. So once they throw that number out there, then I kind of work backwards and let them know this is probably what we're going to be able to accomplish now. We may need to do this in phases where, we get this part done now, but then I can source things for you to get down the road as budget allows.
So when people are shopping for an interior designer, I would imagine that they are probably, interviewing several. What sort of questions should they ask each interior designer so that they're able to compare them equally?
First of all, if budget is a thing, obviously hourly rate, how they work throughout the process too. And they need to be upfront with their expectations of what they expect of the process with the designer. And that's actually a question that I do ask so that I know, what somebody is expecting up front. If they want an HGTV scenario where they have it all done and come home to it, or if they want to be more hands-on. So I think just, knowing the processes, and then being able to work within budget, because designers charge differently. There's several different ways that designers make their money.
Can you go into some detail on the different ways that designers charge for projects?
So there's hourly, there's flat rate, and then there's some where you'll build it into the pricing on furniture. So
like a furniture markup?
Yes and no. So a lot of places offer a design discount if you have a trade account with them. So designers, it is a markup, but the customer may not really see it.
I see.
So on retail stuff, designers may charge a 10% markup on stuff. So then they may recommend that you just go purchase those things yourself if you want to avoid that.
Sure.
But for the most part, it's building it into the pricing there.
What's the typical hourly rate look like for an interior designer?
It ranges anywhere, I'm not sure for Arizona, but anywhere from $75 an hour to $300 an hour. Again, it just depends on their clientele and the level of work that they do.
When someone's interviewing designers, would you say that having a portfolio and viewing the work that they've done on previous homes is a good idea?
Absolutely, yeah. It helps you to know, because some designers have their signature style, and that's the only style they do.
Right.
And that's the clientele that they seek out too. They don't want to do other stuff. They're good at this. That's what they focus on. That's the clients they want, and they get enough business that way. That's not how I work, because again, I like so many styles. I'm able to be more versatile and not push my signature style off on somebody else. So I think as far as styles too, I'm more minimalistic. And so I do tend to carry that over to my designs as well. But I think that's another thing on my portfolio that people see, and so they're going to reach out to me if they like that.
Yeah. Do designers have like references? Can you contact the people that you've worked with in the past potentially to just ask them how the project went and how it was working with the individual? Is that something that is common in the industry?
It's nothing I've heard of. I do have a testimonial page on my site, so for reviews and that type of thing. But yeah, I mean, I would never hesitate to give out information for references.
Yeah. And how long would you say the typical project for you takes from when you meet with a client to basically starting the project? How long does that design session usually last?
From consultation to getting started, it depends on my workload. So there's times, obviously, where things all come in at once. There's times where things are staggered. So if it's all coming in at once, I try to stagger it. Otherwise, I'm going in too many different directions, and I'm not trying to sacrifice my customer service.
That's good.
So if I have a lot going on at once, sometimes we can start within a week. It just depends on how quick they get back to me with an answer on the proposal and how quick we get under contract. But once we're under contract, then I'm able to give them a start date. But again, if they're all coming in at once, so I've got 4 or 5 recently that came in all at one time. So I kind of prioritized it by who was under contract and who submitted their first payment. So just depending on the pay structure, I'll either collect a retainer up front, or they can pay for a lump sum of hours up front, and then I give a discount for that.
That's interesting. And I would imagine that people know going into it what the scheduling is going to look like. That's probably communicated. Yeah.
So I let them know, what phases are going to entail what. That's all in my design agreement.
And how do you personally kind of stay up on current trends, what's popular, and what do you do if you have a client that wants to put things in their home that you just think is a terrible idea?
Well, starting with that, it's a fine line to not insult anyone, but I'll maybe suggest another spot for it that's not out in the open, or, but I haven't really come into that situation where somebody's so dead set on something. I mean, people will let me know as we go through the house, like, I'm married to this, I'm not married to this. So, but most of the time I can make it work. I haven't run into a scenario where I can't fit it in. So, and I think that's another thing too, with being able to bring so many different styles together, that helps in those situations. So, I mean, it's not where I'm so focused on one certain style where this piece doesn't fit. Like, we'll find a way to make it work.
Okay. And then where do you find, your inspiration for and stay up on current trends that are happening in the marketplace?
Instagram, Pinterest, social media is great for that now. Magazines, I mean, I get them randomly in the mail. I swear I never sign up for them, so I don't know how they get to me, but it works, to see what's coming out, what's trending with different Pottery Barn, Restoration Hardware, places like that. But House is a great one. But, it's so different now. Having Google and the internet makes it so easy to stay up on trends. And there's a gazillion different design blogs and websites out there. So mostly online, and then when I'm out shopping and sourcing for clients, just seeing what's in the stores.
Very nice. And you bring up House. Have you used their AR at all for any clients, their augmented reality, where you can kind of place the furniture in the space and show them what it'll look like?
I have not yet.
You haven't yet?
No.
I did that at my house, and it was
Did you?
really neat to kind of see how furniture or a rug or a chair would kind of fit in a spot. You know, you hold your iPad up to it or whatever.
Yeah, okay, so I knew Wayfair had that. I don't think I knew that. I didn't see that on House yet, so that must be fairly new.
It may have been Wayfair that I was using.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But
I know they have that on there. Yes, I actually did that for these chairs.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, I did a little blog post on it too.
It really helps with kind of like figuring out what looks good in the space, being able to use the AR to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
Great. I do too.
You know, how do you suggest, and if people come in and they are just completely lost on what they want, what is the best way to go about, you know, giving them instruction and guidance to kind of steer them in the right direction in terms of, you know, paint colors and the style that they might enjoy?
So again, that goes back to inspiration. So what's their inspiration? So if they don't have a Pinterest board or any inspiration, I don't care if it's from a magazine or whatever, just show me what you're drawn to, and then we'll work through it from there. And that happens quite often because like I said, people don't know their style and they're like, I just want you to come in. I don't know what I want.
I just want it to look nice.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it's just, and that's the great thing about those inspirational boards like that is it makes it a lot easier to kind of pinpoint their style.
Mm-hmm. And what paint colors right now are popular that you're seeing?
So actually we're moving away from the grayish a lot quicker than I thought, but I'm seeing a lot more white, and grays that are really close to white colors. So that's I mean, that because I think people are more into accent walls now, so the white goes so much better with those. But yeah, various shades of white are
That's interesting.
Right
so
now.
grayish kind of swooped in and is already on its way out. That was like...
It was quick. I thought it would last a lot
5
longer.
years?
I mean, I don't think it'll be around for a while, but I wouldn't say it's as hot now as the shades of white and the lighter grays.
And how do you feel about Swiss coffee? I feel like as an agent, when I'm out showing homes, I see Swiss coffee just everywhere.
I think it's hilarious that you say that because I just painted the exterior of my house.
Swiss coffee.
It's safe.
It is. It's so neutral.
You know, and my house, it's built in 91 and it has a peach roof. It's not even like terracotta color where it's like easy to work with. It's peach. Everything looks peach. And so I needed something brighter out there and I didn't want to go too stark white. So Swiss coffee.
It
won.
is.
Yeah, it's a good creamy white, but I don't know that I would love it in the house. It might look a little too yellow.
What about lighting? Is that something that you work with in terms of the interior of a home?
Do you mean lighting in terms of placement or selecting fixtures?
Both.
Okay, so yes, absolutely. So that's part of selecting finishes, especially if they're doing a full remodel. I feel like lighting is kind of like the jewelry on the project, so it's very, very important. So yes, lighting is actually one of my favorite parts.
Okay, very cool. So if somebody's doing a whole home remodel, you can assist them with selecting where like can lighting goes or lamps and all that kind of stuff?
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite resources that you use for finding pieces for people to place in their home?
Wayfair is my go-to.
Okay.
I have a trade account through them, so I'm usually able to pass on part of my discount or all of it. It just depends. So some places will offer a flat discount on just across the board, and then I'll pass that on to my clients. Wayfair is more by item, I think, because they have so many different suppliers that they work with. But that's usually my go-to, and people are typically okay with that. For local, if it's on a budget, I really love Living Spaces. I feel like they've really stepped up their game.
Yeah, I like that store.
It's like a kind of the Restoration Hardware vibe, but not the price tag, you know?
Restoration Hardware is so expensive.
Oh my gosh, I could get lost in this store. I could spend so much money in there. So
I think their prices would be less if they didn't send out those giant phone book size
seriously,
catalogs.
I agree. Yeah.
Those have to cost them a grip.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I get them, and I've never signed up, like I said. So I mean,
and they just go in the recycle can.
So yeah, Wayfair, Birch Lane. So they're actually kind of an umbrella of stuff. Target is actually really wonderful too. So like accessorizing, Target has really stepped up there. I feel like a lot of companies have that you wouldn't have typically gone to for certain things before. At Home is another great one. It's huge. They have all of their stores are huge. The prices are great, and So I'm able to find a lot of stuff there too.
So we recently did a video called Ask a Contractor with Brendan Bader at Modern Nest, and he said that when he's working with clients, or one of his recommendations was it's better to do 100% on part of the house that you can afford rather than doing like 75% everywhere when it comes to doing remodels. Would you say that that's kind of the same thing when it comes to interior design, rather than trying to do a half-assed approach to everything, do 100% to the areas that you can afford?
Yeah, absolutely. In those cases, I will tell my client that we can work in phases. So let's take care of this room. And I have them prioritize. If they want several rooms done, we prioritize what we can do. So I actually just worked on one where budget didn't allow for the entire house to be done, so we took care of the downstairs. The problem is if we start piecing things together, they get impatient and they're not seeing the true finished project. Sure. So they'll start buying things, and then you waste money on stuff that potentially isn't going to work when it's finished. So yeah, I would rather just focus on one area and do it right.
Now, what happens when you're working with someone, and it always seems to happen during these projects that they get more expensive than when you started, because you're constantly changing and wanting to add stuff, and you're like, oh, I want to change. Like, how do you keep people focused and on that budget that they set for themselves, so that they don't end up blowing it out of the water?
A simple reminder of where we're at on budget, and that will not work without increasing the budget, and that usually takes care of it.
Yeah. Now, if people are doing that, like, do you put them on payment plans, or do they have to pay half the project up front? How do you kind of protect yourself in terms of making sure that you get paid through the whole process?
If they're doing hourly payments, which are biweekly, which is hourly, so I bill them hourly and send an invoice every 2 weeks. Okay. I'll collect a retainer up front. So it's usually half of what I'm estimating the full project to be. And then once that retainer is exhausted, I'll start sending out the biweekly invoices. Okay. And then I also give them an option I am pretty accurate in my estimations on how long it's going to take for each room. I have yet to bill people extra from what I've initially estimated up front. And I don't have anything left over either. And if I do, and it's a couple hours, then we spend it somewhere. I mean, we figure it out a way. Sure. But with the lump sum payment, I give them a 10% discount on that up front. Okay. So then
that's nice.
A lot of people like it just because it's out of the way. They don't have to worry about that in their budget anymore.
Are there particular projects that you won't take on? Are there projects that are too small or too large, for that matter, that are kind of outside the scope, or things that you just wouldn't take?
I think too small, no. Because I'm a one-woman show here, too large, yes. Yeah. I don't have a team, so if I feel like it's gonna hurt my name, then yeah, I won't take that on.
Most of our audience, or at least my audience, is really centered kind of around real estate. And I think the last series of questions I would have are for if people are looking to redo their house to get it ready to sell, what are some things that they can do right now on their own that get the most bang for their buck?
Okay, depersonalize. So any family photos throughout the house, just take them down, pack them away. And I explain that to clients as kind of getting a head start on getting packed anyway. I mean, you're going to put them away when the house sells. So decluttering. So if there's a lot of knickknacks or a lot of gallery walls or just random stuff on the walls, just kind of minimizing everything. So we don't want it to look vacant. We still want it to be welcoming, but not where the focus is so much on their stuff. We want people to start looking at the house and imagining their stuff in it. Right. And on that note too, any crazy paint colors, I would recommend changing to something neutral. And most people have a neutral color in the house already. Yeah. And so, if there's a few crazy walls, then I'll just tell them to paint it that same color. Clean up the baseboards. I mean, that's one thing, especially with pets, that you don't think about. Right. And nobody enjoys doing that. But I mean, just take a magic eraser to it and see if, it may not need to be painted. Yeah. If it needs to be painted, paint it. Do touch-ups. Those little things go a long way. And I know that it may seem tedious, especially painting walls. But the way I explain it to people is your buyer's coming in and they may not want to paint it themselves. So they're
Right.
going to hire a painter. So they're thinking in terms of thousands when it could cost you maybe $100 to just get it done
Yeah.
in a couple hours of your time. They're going to come down on their offer.
I found that most buyers overestimate always the cost that it's actually going to take to do the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're looking for any reason to lowball you anyway. So
For
just
sure.
don't give them a reason to.
Yeah, yeah. I've also found that when people have crazy colors, it's usually because they let their kids pick the color for their bedrooms.
That was exactly one of our bathrooms in our house. When we looked at it, everything was fairly decent in here, and then this one was bright blue. We're like, where
It's
did
like-
that come from?
Like
And
an
then she's-
Easter egg exploded?
Yes, yeah. And so they let the kids pick it. And I'm like, that's great. I mean, I'm not that person.
Yeah, yeah. The two easiest things to change are paint and flooring typically.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's what people go in not wanting, especially flooring, to change either. You know, I know when we were looking, flooring and countertops were the most important things for us because we didn't want to do a complete reno. We wanted to do little things at a time, but be able to live with what was in there. But flooring, I think, is huge, especially updating that.
Yeah, yeah. What I'm seeing a lot in the marketplace right now are when I'm going through homes that haven't been updated. You know, we went through this huge boom in like the 90s and early 2000s. So you see tons of homes that have those old oak cabinets or the whitewash cabinets. Do you have experience with, would you recommend refinishing those or just completely replacing them? Because they are everywhere.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
I know. My whole house was full of those oak ones. My whole house. I've painted all but one set.
Okay.
So that's coming.
So painting sounds
So
like...
yeah, if you're on a budget and it's something that you are comfortable doing or hiring a contractor to do, it's a lot less expensive, obviously, than replacing. If you have the budget to replace, then I would recommend, if you're going to replace cabinets, I would recommend looking at the kitchen as a whole. Do you like the layout? And you know, if you're going to do a remodel and tear things out,
Might as
then
well
you
do
need,
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But if you're good with everything else, then just refinishing.
Would you suggest someone hire a professional for that? Because I can't imagine it's just as easy as slapping paint on there.
No,
Yeah.
it is not. Doing colors and stuff now too. So if you're doing green cabinets or blue island, you're not going to have that those options with the Rust-Oleum kit. So then I would, if you're not a DIY savvy person, then definitely hiring a contractor. It's tedious, it's laborious, but if it's something that you want to save money and you can do, then I say go for it.
Yeah. What about, what are some other things that people can easily change? Like the brass that you find from the mid-90s and early 2000s. Changing out those things, is that kind of an easy thing that people
Fixtures,
can do?
yeah, for sure. Fixtures, faucets, lights, all of that. Even shower doors. I mean, the frameless are great now. You can just go to Home Depot and figure it out there if you don't want to go through the whole contractor bit. Let them handle it all.
Is that that stuff that you can help people with if they're looking for that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I have
Okay.
contacts for all of that.
Awesome. I think this is a kind of a good segue into, I kind of want to do a hot or not session with you on, you know, some current trends, which I know we've covered some of them, but you know, we'll start with the kitchen. White cabinets, are those still hot or are those on their way out?
That will always, okay, so it's timeless. I don't think it's ever going to be out.
Like just bright white cabinets are timeless?
I think that, yeah, white kitchens will always be around. We're just going, it's going to vary with the trends. So hot, I would say no, but
No.
timeless, yes.
Like lukewarm?
Yeah,
Okay.
still there.
All right. And then we touched on this before, but gray walls.
Depends on the shade, but yes, light gray, hot. Yes.
Light gray hot, but
Yeah.
grayish not.
Not so much.
Not so much.
Lukewarm.
Okay. All right. What about minimalism?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
That's
that is hot right now? Okay. I don't know what this means, but jeweled tone accents. Maybe you can explain what that is. I have no idea.
So that's like your brighter, like the fuchsias or the forest greens or navy blues, like that red.
I'm thinking bedazzled jeans.
Love it. Yeah, no, that's not hot.
No, not at all. No.
So I wouldn't say it's hot, but
Okay.
it just depends on the person.
Okay. What about designated tech-free spaces?
I think that's becoming hot. I think that's more of an up and coming thing because people are so sick of being tied to technology all the time.
Agreed.
Yeah, we need to figure out a way to break away.
Okay.
So yeah.
What about man caves?
I don't get a lot of requests for it, so I wouldn't say hot, but
Okay.
one of those things that's just kind of course, who wouldn't want one,
Yeah.
right?
She sheds, which I didn't know was a
those
thing.
are
and
hot, yes, yes.
until, what is
Those
it,
are
Geico
definitely
or
hot.
somebody had a commercial and they called it a she shed.
Really?
I didn't know that
yeah.
was.
Oh yeah, it's a thing.
All
I
right,
want one.
so those are hot. Man caves are out, but she sheds are in. Got it. Neon signs.
No,
No.
I think in the right area, but yeah, I wouldn't
That's
call
kind of
it
an
hot.
80s trend.
Yeah, my husband loves those.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Put it in his man cave.
yeah, exactly.
What about rose gold, or sometimes called Millennial Pink?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
hot.
You can tell someone else wrote these questions for me.
Yes.
Large format tiles instead of subway tiles.
I think they're both hot still.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that it just depends on the space. You'll see large format over Subway, but Subway is still, that's not going to
I see tons of the small subway tiles.
Yeah, all variations and sizes now. It's not just the
Yeah.
white like you saw a few years ago. There's all kinds of.
I'm also seeing a trend towards wallpaper again.
Heck yeah.
Really?
It's back with a vengeance.
Why?
Because it's beautiful. It's not, it's not like it used to be though. So
I've gone through the effort of removing wallpaper.
well,
from
exactly, and we
walls.
all have. So it's funny because it's one of those trends where people see it and they're like, oh, but when you hear it, you're like, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
So it's not doing a whole house in it or doing a whole hallway in
Okay.
it. People are doing their bathrooms in it, but it's more modernized. And the hot thing right now in wallpaper is peel and stick. So that's what I love because I'm so non-committal when it comes to design stuff that I can peel it down when I'm sick of it and there's no damage to my wall whatsoever. Yeah.
And you said bathrooms, it doesn't peel because of the moisture and stuff?
If your walls are flat with no texture, then it tends to stay up better. You
Okay.
may need to use a primer before.
I say most people's bathrooms are like a semi-gloss, so.
Exactly. So you need to make sure, if it is, then you would need to either prime it
Okay.
to make sure that it stays up, or get rid of the texture like you would for normal wallpaper.
All right. What about accent walls?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's hot.
Yeah.
House plants? I see that you've got some here.
I hope so. Yeah.
They're still in. And monochrome designs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest trends right now. Yeah. Black and white's huge.
Okay, that's what monochrome means.
Yeah.
Is black and white.
Two tones. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then I've seen like some homes, especially like model homes, when you're out touring new builds and they put these really ornate patterns either on the floor or the walls. Do you ever fear that the trend's going to change so dramatic that those houses look stupid? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you referring to like the cement tiles with those patterns?
I've seen a lot of
or-
that starting to trend
Uh-huh.
around. I've just seen these walls, these tile walls that look like almost like kaleidoscopes, or even the flooring.
Yeah. Yeah. See those extreme trends for sure. And
Yeah.
that's usually what I advise my clients to stay away from unless you're willing to do another remodel 3 to 5 years
Yeah.
down the road. Those are things I love right now too. I love the cement tiles. Those are very hot right now.
Yeah.
But
And pretty affordable, right?
They are,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I think that depending on how you do it too, will last a little bit longer.
Sure.
Backsplashes, showers, that kind of thing. But yeah, the floors I think will go out a lot quicker than the accents.
Very cool. Well, are there any topics or subjects that we didn't cover that you'd want to touch on and kind of give our audience exposure to?
No, anyone can feel free to reach out to me through my website, cghomeinteriors.com. I have a blog on there too that has a lot of my tips and tricks and DIY stuff on there.
You have a great Instagram page. I love following the
Thank
stuff
you.
you're doing on Instagram.
I have fun on Instagram.
Yeah.
It kind of, the whole platform drives me nuts, but I'm addicted.
Yeah. And part of our services for all of our sellers that work with us is we have a consultation with Christina, and she goes out and she's the bad guy and tells you all the things you have to change about your home in order for us to sell it.
Hey, better me than you, right?
Absolutely. I love it.
I'll take it.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Christina, for joining us today.
Yeah,
I really
thank you for having
appreciate
me.
it. And we'll put all of your contact info and access to your blog and Instagram name and everything in our show notes.
Great.
All right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. All right.